This film takes us into a future where scientific advancements have reached incredible heights. In this era, a company exists that offers people the ability to travel back in time for a price. One wealthy man, Tommy, seizes this opportunity, using the service to alter his past. However, each time he manipulates history, the timeline shifts, causing chaos. A man named Nick finds himself increasingly troubled by these disruptions. But what exactly is Tommy trying to change? And why is he so determined to rewrite history? The movie opens with a woman named Janine, who shares a profound thought. Love is like a circle. Once it begins, it always comes full circle. True love, she believes, never truly fades. It remains eternal. Janine, as it turns out, is Tommy's ex-wife, and she is now in a relationship with a man named Nick. As the story unfolds, we see Janine and Nick together. Nick expresses how much Janine has transformed his life, admitting that before she came along, he felt lost and alone. The two of them are attending the wedding of their friends, Tate and Donna, where their journey takes another turn. In the following scene, we find Nick and Janine at home, where we learn they have a dog named Charlie. Before heading out for work, Janine records a video of Nick peacefully sleeping and then quietly leaves. A while later, Nick wakes up and takes Charlie for a walk. During his stroll, he receives a message from Janine, a video of himself sleeping. This simple gesture highlights the deep love they share. Later, when Nick arrives at his office, he discovers a gift waiting for him. It was sent by his sister Zoe, who had hoped to celebrate his birthday with him and a few friends. However, when she invites him, Nick declines, explaining that he has too much work to do and won't be able to make it. As Nick sits in a meeting, an unsettling event occurs, a sudden shift in the timeline. Their boss, aware of the phenomenon, instructs all employees to immediately contact their families and check if their lives have been altered by this time disturbance. The urgency of the situation sends a wave of panic through the office. Nick, filled with anxiety, quickly calls Janine and asks her to confirm basic details, her name, address, and husband's name. Janine responds without hesitation, saying she lives on Land Crescent Lane and that Nick is her husband. This confirmation reassures him, as he feared that the timeline shift might have changed his reality, possibly even altering his relationship with Janine. That evening, Janine tells Nick that her sister had called earlier, inviting both of them to go rock climbing. However, she mentions that he declined the offer. As they continue talking, Nick suddenly notices something odd. He now has a pet cat named Charlie. Confused, he questions why he would have a cat when he doesn't even like them. Janine, looking equally puzzled, insists that he has always had a cat named Charlie. Nick feels a deep sense of unease. He is absolutely certain that he never had a cat. Charlie was his dog, yet Janine dismisses his concerns, saying he's making a big deal out of something insignificant. But Nick knows something is off. He begins to suspect that Tommy might be behind these timeline shifts, believing that Tommy is manipulating time because he still has feelings for Janine. Janine suggests reporting the incident to the police, but then reconsiders, questioning what legal action they could even take. If Tommy has been altering the past, he hasn't done anything drastic. After all, only their pet has changed. Surely that isn't enough to justify a case against him. Nick, however, refuses to let it go. Determined to stop Tommy from interfering in their lives, he declares that he will travel to the past himself. His plan? To prevent Tommy and Janine from ever meeting. Hearing this, Janine grows concerned. She warns him against it, saying, "You don't need to do this. What if, by changing the past, we never meet at all?" The next day at the office, Nick confides in Zoe, telling her that Tommy is actively trying to alter the timeline, most likely in an attempt to win Janine back. He vows not to let that happen. However, Zoe dismisses his concerns, advising him to stop obsessing over Tommy's actions and focus on his own life with Janine. She warns him that stressing over these minor disruptions could ruin his marriage. Meanwhile, Janine is out capturing photographs of two men. As a passionate photographer, she enjoys taking candid shots of people and the world around her. Later, Nick makes a decision. After years of silence, he finally calls Tommy and asks to meet him at a restaurant. When they sit down, Nick directly accuses him of manipulating time, claiming that he has been subtly altering the past to push Janine and Nick apart. Tommy doesn't deny using time joining, the method of making small changes in close proximity to a target, but he firmly denies ever trying to break them up. That would be illegal, he states, and not just illegal, it's one of the worst things someone can do. Nick isn't convinced. He argues that Tommy, with all his wealth, could easily move on and start a new life instead of meddling with the past. "Why don't you let go of Janine and reconnect with Alex instead?" Nick challenges him. Tommy looks surprised. He admits that he hasn't spoken to Alex in almost 6 years. Alex was Nick's ex-girlfriend, but for some reason, Tommy never reached out to her. Later, determined to protect his memories from any future timeline shifts, Nick visits a company called Past Protect. This company specializes in storing people's memories online, preserving them even when the timeline is altered. Nick opens an account and carefully uploads photos of himself and Janine. That evening, Nick arrives home and tells Janine that he has created an account with Past Protect. He explains that if Tommy ever alters the timeline again, he'll be able to access his stored memories to confirm that Janine is, and always has been, his wife. However, Janine surprises him with unexpected news. She reveals that she personally went to meet Tommy and asked him to leave their relationship alone. To her relief, Tommy agreed. Before parting ways, he even gave her a gift. Nick is furious upon hearing this. The idea that Janine met with Tommy behind his back angers him, and in frustration, he throws away Tommy's gift. The next day, Janine is visibly upset. She feels hurt that Nick is still convinced Tommy is trying to break them apart. To reassure him, she sends Nick a video message. In the video, she firmly states that no one can come between them, that their relationship is in their own hands. Whether they stay together or not is entirely their decision, not Tommy's. Hearing her words, Nick finally realizes the truth. Janine will never betray him, and even if the timeline changes again, she will always find her way back to him. The following day, Nick receives tragic news. Zoe's friend Sibylla has died in a rock climbing accident. Shocked, he immediately goes to see Zoe and tries to comfort her. Devastated, Zoe confesses that Sibylla was the only close person in her life, and now she feels completely alone. Looking at Nick, she offers him a heartfelt piece of advice. She urges him to cherish his relationship with Janine, warning him that if they ever separated, both of them would end up feeling just as lonely as she does now. That evening, Nick takes Janine out, hoping to give them both a break from the stress and sadness weighing them down. As they try to relax, an ominous time wave suddenly approaches at an alarming speed. The moment Nick sees it, he immediately realizes what's happening. Tommy has altered the past, and as a result, everything in their lives is about to change. Before he can react, the timeline shifts. In an instant, Nick is no longer standing next to Janine. Instead, he finds himself inside a car. Disoriented, he quickly grabs his phone to call Janine, only to discover that her number is nowhere to be found. A chilling realization sets in. Janine is no longer his wife in this timeline. When Nick returns home, he is met with another shock. His house is different, but even more surprising, his pet dog Charlie is still there. As he struggles to make sense of everything, he soon learns the most unsettling truth of all. In this reality, Alex is his wife. Overwhelmed by the drastic shift, Nick instinctively begins to distance himself from Alex. She quickly notices the change in his behavior, sensing that something is off between them. The next morning, Alex wakes up alone. Looking around, she realizes that Nick had chosen to sleep on the sofa instead of beside her. Concerned about their marriage, she leaves for work and later calls Tommy. Confiding in him, she expresses her worries, telling him that Nick has been avoiding her and that their relationship seems to be falling apart. Meanwhile, in this altered timeline, Tommy is now living with Janine. Meanwhile, Nick finds himself staring at old photos of himself and Alex, trying to process the life he now finds himself in. That night, he and Alex attend a friend's wedding anniversary. As the evening progresses, Nick begins to feel a pang of jealousy, realizing just how upset Alex is over his distant behavior. Recognizing that he can't keep living in the past, he makes a decision to accept this reality, make peace with Alex, and commit to spending his life with her. The next day, Nick receives an unexpected call from Zoe. She shares shocking news. Sibylla is alive. Stunned, Nick struggles to comprehend how this is possible. Without wasting any time, he and Alex go to meet Zoe, only to discover another surprising twist. Zoe and Alex are close friends in this timeline. Later, Zoe, Nick, and Alex travel into the forest, where Sibylla is preparing for another rock climbing expedition. As they talk, Sibylla reveals the truth. Zoe had saved her life by traveling through time. She explains that preventing her death had cost Zoe an enormous amount of money, leaving her financially ruined. Hearing this, Alex reassures Zoe that she did the right thing. She and Nick offer to help Zoe financially, letting her know she's not alone. The next day, Nick receives a call from Past Protect. The company informs him that due to the timeline shift, all of his stored memories have been erased from their server. However, after searching through their archives, they manage to recover one corrupted file. When Nick opens the file, he finds a video, but it's so heavily blurred that he can't make out anything. Later that night, he watches it again, desperately trying to understand its contents. But no matter how hard he tries, the video remains incomprehensible. The next day, Nick meets with Zoe and tells her that he wants to perform a time joint, meaning he plans to travel back in time. Zoe provides him with the address of a company that offers this service, but warns him that time travel is extremely expensive. Determined, Nick visits the company the following day and expresses his desire to return to the past. While discussing the process with an employee, he learns that he will have exactly 12 hours to relive his memories before returning to the present. Without hesitation, Nick takes the leap. He travels back to the past during a time when he and his friends were gathered around a bonfire. While there, he takes matters into his own hands. He subtly influences events so that Tommy and Alex end up together, while ensuring that he and Alex break up. At this point in history, Alex and Nick were still dating, but he makes sure to step aside, allowing Tommy and Alex to form a deeper connection. Before leaving the past, Nick writes a letter to his younger self, leaving behind a heartfelt message. Let Alex and Tommy be together. They truly care for each other. Step away and let them find their happiness. Past Nick follows the letter's advice, unknowingly altering the course of his own future forever. When Nick returns to the present, he realizes that his life has changed drastically. In this new reality, he now has a regular job and is unmarried. One day he receives an unexpected phone call from Tommy. Tommy tells him that Tate and Donna are hosting a small gathering and invites him to come. Initially, Nick declines, but after some persuasion, he agrees to attend. At the party, he reunites with Alex. She expresses her gratitude, telling him that breaking up with her was the right choice because she is now happily married to Tommy and even expecting a child. Upon hearing this, Nick's eyes well up with tears, though he manages to smile. Alex then suggests that he should consider settling down as well. Feeling overwhelmed, Nick abruptly decides to leave the party, but just as he turns to go, his gaze falls on Janine. She is smiling at him. The moment their eyes meet, something incredible happens. Janine remembers everything from the previous timeline, and with that, the time travel movie comes to an end. I hope you all enjoyed this breakdown of the film. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I'll be back soon with another exciting movie review. Until then, take care and thanks for watching.